Hi everyone. I'm going to talk to you today about value-based bidding and using customer propensity modeling for value-based bidding. My name is Antonio. I'm originally from the sunny Lisbon in Portugal, but been living in London for the last 7 years or so. I've worked for some of the biggest scale-ups and fastest growing in the UK, namely Carwow and Deliveroo, and I currently lead the marketing and e-commerce analytics function at Cazoo. So what I'm actually covering today, I'm going to talk to you about the two sections in the middle, customer propensity modeling and using user-level predictions in the context of Google Ads. But I'm actually going to change things chronologically a bit. I'm going to start with the outcomes of the test we've launched using this. Why should you care about this project, and a visual summary of how it all works. I'll then go into more detail into the customer modeling phase, then as well into more detail into how to use customer propensity model in the context of Google Ads. And finally, I will briefly touch on the road to get here, what you need, your organizations need to have in order to do customer propensity modeling, as well as what comes next for Cazoo in terms of applying value-based bidding and customer propensity modeling. So let's start with the results. Why are these important? It's important because basically using some more sophisticated techniques to do bidding within Google Ads, you can achieve a better cost of acquisition. We've managed to increase 43% our orders with slightly less spend, and we reduced our cost of acquisition in 31%. They might be a bit counterintuitive. If you notice, like on the left, we have our original campaign on manual bidding, and on the right, we have our enhanced with VBB campaign on an A/B test. It might be counterintuitive how this is working if for the same spend we've actually generated much less sessions. So why is this positive? It's positive because basically we've paid more for the most valuable customers, leaving less of them escape to our competitors, and we've managed to waste less spend on those customers that wouldn't convert in any case. So even though we've generated less traffic, the traffic is much more qualified, we get more leads, and we get ultimately 43% more orders. So, and generally speaking, why is this important? Like, you can read in the intro to my talk that it's not, you know a lot more about your customers in the future than you know now, and your marketing optimization decisions can't really wait for you to know that future value. So your only option is to predict that value and have a timely feedback loop with your marketing optimization decisions based on that predicted value. But let me tell you more about it in terms of a visual. First, this is the example of Cazoo, really, or any online car retailer. When users click on a Google Ads ad of Cazoo, they come to the website and they do some actions. For example, here they see 3 pages of different cars. They will take a number of days and do many more actions, like starting the checkout and potentially abandoning it, seeing more cars until they actually convert, because we have long buying cycles. So we can't really afford in this example to wait 36 days to feed that back into Google, so that we optimize our marketing spend based on what has happened, on the spend of clicks 40 days ago based on what happened 40 days after. So we need to predict that value. But that's not true just for car buying and for long cycles. It's also true for any business that has huge repeat purchase. So I've drawn on this example from my experience at Deliveroo. usually have your first order after a click very quickly, like you click on an ad, you potentially download the app, or you even place your order on the desktop. But actually, the value of a customer that places an order can be completely different from another customer that also places an order on the first day. Maybe one customer is just in your app to use a discount code and never comes back, whereas the other will place 75 orders across the period of a year, let's say. So if you predict that value and you feed that back into your marketing platforms, you'll have a much better chance of optimizing towards customers that will be more profitable and more valuable to your business. In Cazoo's particular case, there's another reason why we want to predict this value is because we sell cars, so we don't have a lot of sales in absolute terms. So even if our buying cycle was short, we couldn't use orders to optimize marketing decisions because Google Ads wouldn't have enough data to make good optimizations. Like it would be too scarce. So by feeding them predicted values of our customers, we also increase the pool of data that Google can use for optimization. So how does it all work? I have my colleague Mike from the marketing team here in the audience. So this works like that. The data team takes some inputs of what the customers are doing in our website, and we predict the value of any given customer. In this case, we're seeing here completely different values for these three customers. We then, using a Google Click identifier, we pass that information via the API into Campaign Manager that then sends it to Search Ads 360 and into Google Ads. Our marketing team decides what's the desired return on investment. So in this example, they're saying that for every pound we spend, we want a return on investment 3 times that. And with the data we feed Google and with the instructions the marketing team gives Google, Google will try to find customers with similar behaviors and similar characteristics to the ones we tell them are the most valuable. And then when people are searching on Google for keywords that relate to the automotive industry, Google will calculate how valuable these customers would be if they were to convert, what's the likelihood of them converting, and multiplying those two, Google calculates an expected value of that customer, and that's how they place their bids on our behalf. Basically, it's the expected value divided by the return on investment our marketing team wants for those customers. So now let me go into a bit more detail into our customer propensity modeling. This is a section that actually allows me to use a lot of buzzwords like machine learning, AI, Python, whatever it may be. Those are actually applicable to our use case. We do use machine learning, we do use a logistic regression model. But in practice, what we do is we look into the first 36 hours of user behavior within our website and beyond, for example, email data as well. We predict the likelihood of those customers converting, and then that's it, really. We feed those values back to Google. So in terms of measuring how good our model is, we do use some metrics that are native to data science models to calculate how good the model is, like area under the curve, precision recall, the very classic data science measure metrics of a model. But we also make sure that roughly the total sum of probabilities that our model is calculating is very similar to the orders we observe in real life. So those two things need to be relatively aligned. In other words, that's the same as saying that the average probability our model is calculating must be very similar to our conversion rate. So we also make sure those are true. but let me show you another visual example of uh, what our model is doing in practice. So let's say this is a user on our website, or two actually. We have some categorical information about them, whether they are mobile customers, desktop customers, whether they're London-based or based from in the countryside. And then we see which actions they've took in our website and how they've engaged with Cazoo. So for example, have they played with the filters on our search results page? Have they seen any cars? If they've seen any cars, have they opened the image gallery? Have they opened the imperfections gallery? Did we send them an email? Have they clicked on that email? Did they get in touch with our customer service? And a whole another range of signals we use. And then after 36 hours, our logistic regression model predicts the likelihood of those users converting, and eventually we send that value back to Google Ads. So if we take two real-life examples of customers in our website, we do look into more features than this for our model, but this is the features in which they differ. So on the left-hand side, we have someone that came to us using a desktop, and it comes from the northwest of England. And on the left, we have a mobile customer coming from London. Other main things they differ on is the customer on the left saw 5 different cars on our website, whereas the one on the right saw none, so a lot less engaged. They both played with some of our filters, so that's not really what's making the difference. But the user on the left also saw our imperfections gallery and the image gallery, which means they are relatively engaged with the car they are searching for. So ultimately, taking these features into consideration, our model predicts that the customer on the left is 5 times more likely to convert than the one on the right. It's still only 1%. Again, don't forget we sell cars, so it's not very likely any website customer will buy them. But what we want to signal to Google is, please find us more of the ones that look like the one on the right, and don't go after the ones that look, the ones on the left. So what we want to say tell to Google is, please find us more of customers that look like the one on the left, high likelihood of converting, and don't go after the ones that look like the customer on the right, low probability of converting. So the difference is this customer is a lot more engaged. This customer saw 5 times that car, engaged with the gallery, whereas the customer on the right didn't do any of those actions, so they're much less likely to convert. Yeah, that's it really about the customer propensity modeling. So the next section is how we use customer propensity modeling in the context of Google Ads. So I've shown you the visual of the whole architecture. We predict a value, we send it to Google. Google then places bids on our behalf. I also have some screenshots for questions if you are interested in how to apply these in Google's UI. But what I'm going to talk about is a practical example of how our first value-based bidding campaign behaved in real life when we've applied this methodology to it. So the first thing you need to know is prepare yourself for a lot of challenges. If you're trying to implement value-based bidding, you just don't send Google data from your customers or predicted value from your customers and then it will work. First thing you need to do is a warm-up period, which is excluded from this graph. You just need to let Google collect some data, some conversion value, before you even launch your campaign using value-based bidding. We then, on the 16th of January, earlier this year, we launched an A/B test. Half of the campaign was on the manual settings, half of the campaigns was using VBB, and we hope for the best. We had roughly 2 weeks of stable CPCs and spend on both mobile and desktop, but suddenly within 2 weeks spend vanished, and Google eventually reported a bug on their side in the way they were dealing with offline conversions. That period lasted for 1.5 months, and for that period we had to use minimum bids to keep the spend going, really. Once Google told us that the bug was solved, we started to relax the minimum bids so that value-based bidding, smart bidding could operate at its full capacity. But eventually we saw the spend dropping, and at first we didn't realize why. Then we realized something really interesting, which was we're only sending to Google our top 5% of customers. Why is that? If you send 100% of your customers, even if you tell they have different values, Google thinks you have 100% conversion rate, so you can't send everyone. So although our model was correctly calculating the average probability for desktop and mobile correctly, that is like aligned with the reality of our business, the likelihood of a mobile customer making it to the 5%, top 5%, was much lower than a desktop customer. So ultimately we were signaling to Google mobile customers are worth very, very little. Google was then placing low bids for mobile customers, which in its turn was killing the mobile traffic from the campaign. Mobile traffic being the main percentage of traffic online, really, dragged the desktop traffic with itself, and the campaign lost the ability to spend. So we went back to the drawing board, we made an adjustment, and we relaxed the criteria on how valuable a mobile customer needs to be in order to make it to the 5%. We relaxed that, started sending that information into Google. Google jumped and increased bids on mobile customers, and our spend on mobile recovered. Our spend on desktop also recovered alongside the mobile spend. But in this initial phase, Google was adapting to a new reality, so spend was still very jumpy. The performance of the campaign was good. We were achieving better cost of acquisition, although main metrics we wanted to see, but it was still difficult for our marketing teams to align their budgets to the spend of the campaign. But yeah, ultimately, because the performance was so much better, we decided to keep it. Eventually, Google got used to the patterns of the data we were sending it, and in the last phase, you will see both for desktop and mobile, both CPCs and spend kind of stabilized, and we decided, based on the test results that I've shown you earlier, that this new strategy of placing bids on Google was better than manual bidding, and we rolled it out to the 100% of the campaign. So yeah, just bear in mind that this process took us 5 months. There was a lot of unexpected hurdles in the way, but ultimately, even with all the challenges, we saw 43% increase in orders for the same spend. So yeah, we were really happy with the results. And I will tell you in a second a bit more about what we're doing next. But before that, let me just tell you, if you as an organization want to implement customer propensity modeling at your companies, a few things you need to do first, the basics, before going into that more complex path. You need to have event tracking in place. If you're not collecting data, you're not going to calculate how likely a customer is to convert. You don't have data. You really need to have the basics of data warehouse, a data lake, a place where you manage your data and you mix many sources of data that relate to your customer. You need to have some sort of North Star KPI or way of measuring your marketing investment. In our case, we've also developed marketing attribution modeling. So when we're saying we had 43% more orders, that's because we have the basics of marketing attribution model in place, and we can say, based on our marketing attribution model, that campaign generated 43% more orders. So just bear these things in mind if you want to implement customer propensity model at your organizations. Finally, where we go from here, there's a few paths for us to follow. Some of them are more marketing related, some of them are more related to the modeling itself. So we've implemented value-based bidding in the retail proposition of our website. This is us selling cars to our customers, but we also buy cars from customers, so we're working on doing value-based bidding for that proposition of Cazoo. We're working on improving our model. Currently, we predict the likelihood of a customer converting. We want to predict the expected value, like are they going to attach finance or paint protection? Are they going to buy a Land Rover or a Ford Fiesta? Those generate completely different values for Cazoo, regardless of those two customers having the same chance of converting. And besides that, we want to roll out what we're already doing to more and more campaigns. At the moment, this new methodology is managing 50% of our spend on Google Ads. In terms of customer propensity modeling, there's a few more things we can do as well outside of the realms of Google Ads. So currently, we only predict the likelihood of someone converting once, and that's after 36 hours of their first click. But we can make those predictions more recurring, have an updated value of how likely our customers are to purchase from us, and use that to target them differently in our CRM campaigns, on our remarketing channels, for example, if we have updated predictions on our customers. So these are just a few possibilities of what comes next from here. And yeah, that's really, of course, I have some takeaways. So there's a few things before we end that if I could summarize the talk, I would want you to take home. One is you should predict the value of your customers, because your marketing decisions can't afford too long for you to know the true value of your customers. It works, decreases your cost of acquisition and improves your return on investment. However, brace yourself for a bumpy road when you implement these things. These are relatively complex projects. Different organizations will face different challenges. I don't think it's a matter of whether you'll have any challenges or not, it's a matter of how many. So I think brace yourselves to be really involved in a project, and don't just expect it to work at the first try. It's also another takeaway is that sometimes simple works. So for example, for our retail proposition, us selling car to customers, the buying cycle is long, so we want to predict the value of a customer. But for our purchase proposition, that is us buying cars from customers, that happens quicker and we have more signals. So we're using some more simplistic analytics to differentiate the value between customers. And what I'm trying to say is VBB and customer propensity modeling are great together, but there's use cases for both separately as well. So bear that in mind. And finally, this is my favorite, because coming from the data team, I think really in the era of AI, so many talks and discussions about AI, just be gentle to your second-class data citizens. Like, you can't do AI and machine learning without event tracking, data accuracy, without having contracts in place with your product and operational teams, without having a data warehouse, a data lake, without having the good ways of doing data modeling. If you don't do these things, the only artificial thing you'll have, it will be your ROI. Yeah, and that's it from me. Thank you, and let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to browse my LinkedIn profile or find some of my articles on Medium. Thank you. Can we can we have the mic for questions?
Hi, Luís Correia from Carmen Network from Portugal. Thank you for your presentation, very insightful. Going back to the visual summary, the first one, you've mentioned that you use the Google Click Identifier, the gclid, to inject the data into Google Ads. My question is, what feature do you use to inject the predicted probability into Google Ads?
What feature in what sense?
Do you use customer match in order to inject the predicted probability, or you've mentioned that you inject via API?
Yeah, so how that works in a bit more detail is that we use, maybe I can show you a bit of the code that will help. It's a bit technical, but basically we use a service of the Campaign Manager API called the Offline Conversion Service. Within it, within Campaign Manager, you have a few floodlights which we can then use as conversions on Search Ads 360 and on Google Ads. So basically, what we need to do is tell the API, okay, we're going to use this floodlight ID, which we can name, for example, lead predicted value. We fetch data from our data warehouse with the values we've predicted, and the data we fetch already comes with the gclid. So we capture the gclid in your first interaction with Cazoo. We have it on a query string, the gclid, so we know you as a customer have a relationship with that gclid. By sending the information to Google saying this gclid is worth, say, £100 to us, Google can then use that same click identifier to match a profile of a user within their systems, and that's how we do the link basically. We fetch those customers, their predicted probabilities. We use the gclid as an identifier, and we pass it via the Campaign Manager offline conversion service. Any more questions from anyone?
Yeah, hello. Thank you for the presentation. Pretty great. You said that you only upload about 5%, the top 5% customers that you calculate the purchase propensity for. Why do you do that instead of uploading the data for the 100% and just changing the value that you give in terms of that offline conversion?
Yeah, no, really valuable, really valid point, and great question. So we've worked with Google Solution Architect on this project, and like the recommendation was that Google systems weren't designed really to work with predicted value. So they're expecting your business to sell T-shirts or to sell like an actual product, and for that conversion to be actually linked to a sale. So part of their systems and how they value and understand the value of a customer looks into the conversion rate of the traffic you are acquiring. So their suggestion is, if we send a value for everyone, we're telling them 100% of our traffic is converting, even if some of them has low value. So the suggestion is for us just to upload a percentage of conversions that's reasonably aligned with what you would expect with an e-commerce business conversion rate, so that their systems don't find that data too different from what they're used to optimize towards.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great insight. Thanks.
Pleasure. Yeah, one more here. Second.
Thanks. You said that originally you uploaded 5% and you had problems. What did you then change that to? Did you increase from 5% of data?
So the 5% is not a static value. So every day we do an upload, we don't necessarily upload 5%. On a given day, we might upload 4.5. On another day, we might upload 6%, depending on how good this new cohort of users that we acquired is. The 5% is more like, historically, we looked into a period of data that we used to train the model, and we said, let's look into how likely a customer needs to be to convert in order to be in the 5% of our top customers. So that value can shift in the future, but the threshold we defined as is uploaded or not uploaded was based on the top 5% of our historical data.
Okay. So what becomes your cutoff? Is it the
So
propensity to buy?
say for example, it's a customer that's X% likely to convert, let's say 1% likely to convert.
Okay.
When our average conversion rate is 0.2%, if you're at least 1% likely to convert, we upload you as a valuable customer. One more there.
Hey, hello. Thank you
Hey.
for the presentation. Where do you see value of using propensity models in products where the buying cycle is shorter? So I can have in fewer time so I know this customer purchased or not. So do you see value in using propensity predictors?
I think so. I think at least for business that expect a lot of repeat sales. Like potentially if all you sell is like that one t-shirt and customers won't buy that t-shirt twice from you, you probably should just use your actual sales data. That's the value the customer has, like bought a t-shirt or not. But like if you're expecting that your customers to come back and to do many repeat orders to become loyal to your brand, the value of calculating how much do you think they will bring to the business in the future can also influence your marketing decisions. You want to acquire more of the customers that will stick with your brand, that will make repeat purchases. So there's definitely a space. It doesn't need to be the only solution, but I think there's room for it.
In terms of data architecture, which analytics platform did you use to collect information? GA4 data, and then you use BigQuery in order to stitch all the event data?
Pretty much. We use Universal Analytics. We haven't migrated to GA4 yet. That then connects to, like, there's a daily download of GA data into BigQuery. We stitch that together with our orders data, email data. We do some customer identity resolution if we see you on multiple devices as well, to create a unified customer profile. And then from Google Analytics, That's where we fetch the data to do the predictions and to send it to the API.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It was brilliant. Is there a reason why you're not using this for prospecting, like with the V360? You're just focusing on search, as far as I understand.
Yes, Google Ads and AutoTrader are our main acquisition channels at Cazoo. Our marketing is very skewed towards customer acquisition more than customer remarketing or so with AutoTrader we can't really do any of these things because they don't have an API or a sophisticated system we could use for that. So it really leaves us with Google Ads to make these optimizations. I guess in the future we could use it for CRM as well, which is a big channel, non-paid for us, but I think we need to adapt our model to predict more than once, to predict more often. Any more? Awesome. Thanks very much again, everyone.